The courtroom door has not opened yet. No cameras are waiting inside. No jury has heard the first argument. And yet, after more than 20 years of accusations, denials, settlements, television appearances, and increasingly bitter public statements, Ray J and the Kardashian-Jenner family are once again being pulled into the same legal story. But there is something important that the headline gets wrong. A Los Angeles judge has not ordered Ray J and Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner into a dramatic face-to-face trial over every accusation surrounding their infamous past. The legal reality is more complicated and, in some ways, far more consequential. Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner's defamation lawsuit against Ray J remains in court, while Ray J's separate claims concerning a 2023 settlement have been sent to private arbitration. And that distinction matters. Because behind the sensational headlines is a legal battle that has somehow taken a story born more than 2 decades ago and transformed it into a modern courtroom war involving alleged defamation, a reported multimillion-dollar settlement, competing versions of history, accusations of reputational damage, and one question that refuses to disappear. What really happened between Ray J, Kim Kardashian, and Kris Jenner, and why are they still fighting over it all these years later? For Ray J, this isn't simply another celebrity feud. For Kim Kardashian, it isn't simply another lawsuit. And for Kris Jenner, whose entire career has been built around managing the public image of one of America's most recognizable families, this case strikes at something even more sensitive: control over the story. Because once a story enters a courtroom, the rules change. The carefully edited television episode disappears. The social media caption disappears. The publicist's statement disappears. What remains are allegations, contracts, declarations, evidence, legal standards, and questions that can be tested under oath. And that is where this story becomes much bigger than the infamous tape that started everything. The dispute now stretches across 2 decades of celebrity history. It reaches back to the early 2000s, when Kim Kardashian was not yet the global billionaire businesswoman she would become, when reality television had not yet transformed the family into a worldwide entertainment empire, and when Ray J was known primarily as a singer, actor, and entertainer. It passes through the explosive release of the intimate video involving Kardashian and Ray J. It passes through years of public disagreement about how that material became public. It reaches the launch of the Kardashian family's reality TV empire. It resurfaces through Ray J's increasingly outspoken interviews and live streams. And then, in 2025, it moves decisively from celebrity gossip into litigation. That is the point where the old story acquired new stakes. In October 2025, Kardashian and Jenner sued Ray J for defamation, alleging that his public statements falsely suggested they were involved in a federal racketeering investigation and accusing him of conducting what they characterized as a campaign of harassment and defamation. Ray J did not simply apologize. He fought back. And in November 2025, he filed a countersuit of his own, alleging that the dispute was connected to a prior agreement involving the old sex tape controversy. Ray J claimed that the Kardashians had breached that agreement and disputed the version of events surrounding the tape that Kardashian and Jenner had publicly maintained. Suddenly, a story that many Americans believed they understood became something else. A legal puzzle. A battle over speech. A battle over reputation. A battle over an agreement reportedly worth millions of dollars. And perhaps most importantly, a battle over who gets to define the past. That last point is the one worth remembering. Because celebrity disputes are often treated as entertainment until the documents arrive, then the language changes. Drama becomes litigation. Feud becomes allegation. Statement becomes evidence. And a decades-old memory can suddenly become a legal issue. The history begins before any of those court documents existed. In the early 2000s, Kim Kardashian and Ray J were romantically involved. Their intimate video was later released publicly, becoming one of the defining celebrity controversies of the era. What happened around the creation, handling, and release of that material has remained disputed ever since. Kardashian has consistently rejected the allegation that she and her mother deliberately orchestrated the release. Ray J has presented a very different account. That disagreement is critical because it explains why this fight never truly disappeared. For one side, the public release represented an event that became a source of enormous personal and reputational consequences. For the other, the history surrounding the recording became something he believed had been misrepresented publicly for years. And somewhere between those competing narratives lies the question that has kept resurfacing. Who controlled what happened? That question has never been merely historical. It has always carried enormous commercial implications. Because the Kardashian family's rise to fame occurred during the same period when celebrity scandal, reality television, internet culture, and tabloid media were colliding. The family didn't merely survive the attention. They built an entertainment empire around their visibility. But Ray J's role in the family's origin story remained one of the uncomfortable chapters that could never be completely erased. Then came 2022. The Kardashian family returned to television through Hulu's The Kardashians, and the old controversy resurfaced publicly. Ray J later alleged that the family's discussion of the tape violated a later agreement. That allegation became central to his 2025 countersuit. The reported 2023 settlement is particularly important. According to court reporting, Kardashian and Jenner agreed to pay Ray J a total of approximately $6 million under an agreement connected to the long-running dispute, with payments reportedly structured over time. The agreement also contained provisions concerning confidentiality and public statements. That changes the entire legal landscape, because a settlement is not simply another celebrity statement. It is a contract, and contracts create obligations. Ray J's position was essentially that the parties had already reached an agreement governing how the controversy could be discussed. Kardashian and Jenner's position was fundamentally different. They argued that Ray J had violated their rights through subsequent statements, particularly statements that they considered defamatory. And so the old fight acquired a new battlefield. Not a television set. Not an Instagram Live. Not a tabloid cover. A courtroom. But there was another turning point. In March 2026, Kardashian and Jenner attempted to keep portions of the 2023 settlement agreement sealed. The judge rejected that request. The court concluded that they had not provided enough evidence to establish that public disclosure would cause the kind of harm required to justify sealing the records. That decision did not mean the judge had determined Ray J's allegations were true. It did not mean Kardashian and Jenner had been found liable. It did not mean the court had ruled that the infamous tape was deliberately released by them. Those are separate questions. But the decision mattered because it pushed portions of a previously private agreement into the public record. And once documents enter the public record, controlling the narrative becomes much harder. This is where the celebrity machinery collides with the legal system. A public figure can decide what to say in an interview. A production team can decide what makes an episode. A social media manager can decide which photograph gets posted. But a court document operates differently. It can be examined. It can be challenged. It can be compared against another document. It can be cited by opposing counsel. And sometimes, it can expose the gap between what the public thought was happening and what the parties had actually agreed to behind closed doors. That is why the March ruling generated so much attention. The court did not simply decide whether a document should remain hidden. It effectively reminded everyone watching that this was no longer only a celebrity controversy. This was litigation. And litigation has consequences. Then came another major development. In April 2026, a judge ruled that Ray J's countersuit concerning the settlement belonged in private arbitration rather than proceeding as a public courtroom fight. That is an enormous distinction. It means the legal battle is not one single case unfolding in one dramatic courtroom showdown. There are separate tracks. The defamation case brought by Kardashian and Jenner remains in court. Ray J's contract-related claims are being handled through arbitration. And that means the viral image of all three celebrities sitting across from one another before a jury is, at least based on the public reporting available, not an accurate description of what has been ordered. But the underlying conflict is very real, and the stakes remain enormous. Kardashian and Jenner say Ray J damaged their reputations by making false statements. Ray J says the dispute is about much more than defamation. He has argued that the Kardashians have spent years presenting a version of events surrounding the tape that he disputes, and each side sees itself as responding to the other. That creates a legal paradox. The more each side speaks publicly, the more material becomes available for the opposing side to scrutinize. Yet remaining silent carries its own risk for public figures. Silence can be interpreted as weakness. A denial can generate another headline. A lawsuit creates more attention. And every new interview can reopen the very controversy someone is trying to put behind them. That is the trap. The story feeds itself. Ray J speaks. The Kardashians respond. Their lawyers file something. Ray J answers. The internet reacts. Then another document appears. And the audience starts asking the same question again. What are they afraid of? But that question itself must be handled carefully. A request to seal records does not prove that someone is hiding wrongdoing. A refusal to seal records does not prove that the allegations inside those records are true. A lawsuit does not establish liability. An allegation is not a verdict. And that distinction is especially important in celebrity litigation, where millions of people can form an opinion long before a judge ever reaches a conclusion. The court has to work differently. It must separate what is proven from what is alleged. It must determine whether statements meet the legal definition of defamation. It must examine contracts according to their language. It must determine what evidence is admissible. And it must apply legal standards regardless of how famous the people involved happen to be. That is why this case is fascinating beyond the celebrity names. It is a collision between fame and procedure, between public storytelling and legal proof, between 20 years of cultural memory and the much narrower questions a court is actually allowed to answer. For Kardashian, the stakes are obvious. Her public image is not a side project. It is part of her business infrastructure. She has transformed herself from reality TV personality into entrepreneur, media figure, lawyer, and global celebrity. Her brand depends heavily on control. Control over appearances. Control over business partnerships. Control over messaging. Control over how her family is represented. So when someone publicly claims that she participated in serious wrongdoing, the accusation is not happening in a vacuum. It reaches her professional identity. It reaches commercial relationships. It reaches her family. And it reaches an audience that has been watching her life for almost 2 decades. For Kris Jenner, the implications are different but equally profound. Jenner's reputation is built around management. She is widely known as the strategist behind the Kardashian-Jenner empire. For decades, she has been portrayed as the person who understands the machinery of celebrity better than almost anyone. That makes allegations involving the management of her daughter's public image especially explosive. Jenner has denied Ray J's allegations. In sworn declarations filed in March 2026, Kardashian and Jenner both rejected claims that they orchestrated the release of the tape. Kardashian described the allegation as false, while Jenner strongly denied being involved in peddling any tapes involving her daughter. Those denials matter, because the court is now being asked to evaluate competing narratives that have existed in public for years. Ray J has one story. Kardashian has another. Jenner has another. And millions of people have already chosen sides. That is one of the strangest features of modern celebrity litigation. The jury may be 12 people. The internet jury is millions. On social media, there is no requirement to wait for evidence. There is no discovery schedule. There is no evidentiary hearing. There is no burden of proof. Someone sees a headline and decides. Someone watches an old interview and decides. Someone posts a 30-second clip and decides. Someone else responds with another clip. And suddenly a complicated legal dispute becomes a culture war argument. The online reaction to the dispute has reflected that divide. Some supporters of Ray J believe he is finally challenging a narrative that has followed him for decades. Others see his repeated public discussion of Kardashian as an attempt to remain connected to one of the most famous families in the world. Some supporters of Kardashian and Jenner believe the women are defending themselves against years of defamatory accusations. Others question why the controversy continues to generate so many legal filings and public statements. The truth is that neither side gets to decide the legal outcome through social media, and neither side can simply erase the other side's allegations by calling them ridiculous. That is what the court is for. But the cultural argument will continue regardless. Because the story touches something larger than these three people. It touches America's complicated relationship with celebrity scandal. 20 years ago, a leaked intimate video could become a tabloid sensation. Today, the same controversy can become a permanent digital archive. Old interviews can resurface. Old photographs can be reposted. Old statements can be clipped. Old contracts can become searchable. And a controversy that might once have faded with the news cycle can now be revived instantly. That means Kardashian and Ray J are not only fighting over what happened. They are fighting against the permanence of the internet. Every generation thinks its celebrity scandals are temporary. The internet proved otherwise. The past does not disappear. It waits. And in this case, the past came back carrying legal documents. The money involved also adds another layer. The reported 2023 settlement was worth approximately $6 million, according to multiple reports, and documents later revealed that Kardashian and Jenner had demanded $7 million from Ray J over alleged breaches of that agreement. Those numbers are striking. But the real value of the dispute cannot be measured only in dollars. For Ray J, the stakes include reputation and the ability to tell his own version of his history. For Kardashian, the stakes include the preservation of a carefully constructed public identity. For Jenner, the stakes include accusations that directly challenge the image of the family strategist. And for all three, there is another cost. Attention. Because every new filing keeps the story alive. Every new article creates another wave. Every new social media reaction brings the controversy back to millions of screens. The lawsuit may be about defamation, but the consequences are reputational. And reputation, for people whose careers are built on public attention, is an asset. That is why this fight matters. Not because a judge is about to deliver a cinematic verdict declaring one person the hero and another the villain. Real court cases rarely work that way. They are slower, more technical, more frustrating. Sometimes months or years pass between meaningful developments. Attorneys argue over documents. Judges decide procedural questions. Motions are filed. Responses arrive. Deadlines move. And the public waits for a dramatic moment that may never look like the movie version. But occasionally, one procedural decision can expose a much bigger conflict. The ruling rejecting the request to keep the settlement private was one of those moments, because it forced a piece of the private history into public view. Then the arbitration ruling created another twist. Instead of allowing Ray J's settlement claims to become part of the same public courtroom battle, the judge directed those contract disputes into private arbitration. That means the public may not see everything. And that creates a new mystery. What happens behind the closed doors of arbitration? What arguments will be made? What documents will matter? Will either side eventually emerge with a legal victory? Or will this become another settlement? Another agreement? Another chapter in a story that has already survived more than 20 years? Those questions remain unresolved. And there is a reason the legal battle has become so emotionally charged. The original controversy was deeply personal. The people involved were young. The culture around celebrity privacy was different. The internet was different. The entertainment business was different. And yet the consequences have lasted into a completely different era. Kim Kardashian is no longer the person she was when the tape first became public. Ray J is no longer simply the entertainer associated with that chapter. Kris Jenner has spent decades building a family business empire. But the old controversy remains attached to all three. That is one of the cruelest realities of fame. The public remembers the moment you became famous. It does not always remember the person you were before it. And sometimes it refuses to let you outgrow the story that introduced you to millions of people. For Kardashian, the controversy became part of a larger rise that eventually included reality television, fashion, beauty, business, law, and social media. For Ray J, the association has been more complicated. He has had his own entertainment career, businesses, and public life, but the Kardashian controversy remains one of the most persistent narratives surrounding him. And that imbalance may help explain why the dispute remains so emotionally combustible. One person became part of a global dynasty. The other became permanently linked to one of the dynasty's origin stories. Neither can change that history. The only question is what happens next. And that is where the legal case becomes especially interesting. A defamation claim is not simply a referendum on whether someone said something offensive. There are legal requirements. The plaintiffs generally